Hey everyone, welcome to another top 10 list. We're still reviewing 2023, and this top 10 list actually has 10 notes. We are going through the top 10 notes that I got in 2023 that haven't been in any of the other lists that we had, because I still picked up some cool stuff and wanted to make sure I got these out there as well. So let's jump right in. Number 10. I crossed off one of my wish list notes. This was the Federal Reserve note from, what do we got here? This is the series of 1914. Now, it's a Federal Reserve note, not a Federal Reserve Bank note, which means this note is the equivalent of the $20 bill in your pocket today. It is odd that they put the blue seal rather than the green seal that we're used to, but the green seals didn't appear until the 1928 small size notes. This particular one is from St. Louis, Missouri, and St. Louis, of course, is H, which is why you have the 8H. It's the 8th district. 8 is also, or H is also the 8th letter of the alphabet. And this particular note features Grover Cleveland on the front. We're used to seeing him on the $1,000 bill, not on the 20. Well, I don't know if I should say we're used to seeing. Of course, every time we're going through our stack of thousands, we see Grover Cleveland. Checking out the back, I want to say this was known as the transportation note, because if you look real close, you got this teeny little tugboat right in front of this gigantic steamship. And interesting that it has four steam pipes on there. I thought it was supposed to be a huge deal when the Titanic had 4, even though of the 4 the Titanic had, only 3 of them worked. I'm not saying that this is the Titanic. In fact, I'm not sure what ship that is on there. But I do know that having 4 steam pipes was a big deal. So much so that the Titanic put a 4th one on there, even though they didn't use it. If we look at this side, we have a car, and we've got a locomotive. And if we dive a little bit deeper, you can actually see an airplane here in the background. And if you want to look really far back, you can see the Statue of Liberty right over there. So the transportation note, the $20 Federal Reserve note from 1914. Really cool ad, and actually relatively affordable. So that one is number 10. Number 9, I have a 3-cent fractional. Now, the 3-cent fractional was only put out in the 3rd series of fractionals, and it's the smallest denomination of fractional that we had in circulation. So that alone makes this pretty cool. There's the back of it. Now, some people are going to say, ooh, it's an error because it's off-cut. No, these were hand-cut, so most of these were off-cut. So that's not really a big deal. What is a big deal, though, is the background. When you look at George, you can see that it has a dark background all the way through. This was, once again, calling it an error isn't appropriate, but it was a variety. And this is the more rare variety. The normal version of this note has a light background, and that light background starts off at about $30. The dark background, like this one, is going to start in the $75 range. So this is the much more valuable note of the two. And I had a light background, so I wanted to get a dark background. So now I have them both. Anyway, that one is number 9, the 3-cent from, I want to say 1864 to 1868, somewhere around there. The 3-cent fractional. Number 8. This is a 1934 $20 Federal Reserve note. This particular one happens to be from Boston, and it's in decent shape. It's probably a 20, maybe a 20. I was going to say maybe a 25. It's a solid 20. But what's cool about this note is, of course, it is a star. Now, back then, the stars were all filled in, so no, it's not a filled star error. But you'll also notice that aside from being a solid star, the star is much bigger. They reduced the size of the star as they continued printing throughout the decades. And it's interesting because with a larger star, you'd think this would be the hollow one. But no, our modern smaller star is the hollow one, where these giant stars, they are filled. Finding a $20 note that is a star from 1934, that's a good find. That's something you're not going to see too often. And if you collect star notes, yeah, modern star notes may not be worth a whole bunch, but here's an example of a small size star note that's going to carry a little bit of extra value. That is number 8 on the list. Number 7, speaking of stars, you can see the condition on this one is not very good at all. But if you look close, you can see this is a 1935A silver certificate with the Hawaii overprint. Hawaii right there, and of course it's going to say Hawaii on the back. Now, you can see that it's discolored, it's creased, not in the greatest of shape. I would call this one maybe a 10, maybe, yeah. But it's a star. So this is a emergency currency from World War II replacement note. The fact that it's emergency currency in the first place makes this cool. Having the Hawaii overprint, awesome. I want to say only the $1 notes were silver certificates. No, I don't think that's right. But I do know the 20 was a Federal Reserve note. I know the North Africa notes were silver certificates. But yeah, I'm pretty sure only the one was a silver certificate for Hawaii. But once again, the $1 note as a star note silver certificate from the emergency currency series. Yeah, you see how as you start adding different things to the title like that, you can see how much rarer this is than your standard star note. I was very proud to get that one. So that one is number 7. Number 6, I added an obsolete currency note. This one happens to be from the Bank of the State of South Carolina. Now, this one features Fort Moultrie, which was part of the Revolutionary War. This particular fort, if I recall, saved Charleston, South Carolina from British attack. The fort was actually left in disrepair for a long time after that, but this is what saved South Carolina, Charleston specifically. That's why the Bank of the State of South Carolina wanted to put that fort on there. These are actually quite rare, and being a $4 denomination makes them extremely neat as well. These are worth a few $100. So if you get a chance to pick one of these up, it's a great score. Most of them, as you can see as I move this is not a tear. Those are cancellation marks. And, so it looks like the note is split. Well, it is split, but that's because the note was redeemed and canceled. And you know that because it actually has the cancellation stamp on the back. Some people collect based on where the note was redeemed or when the note was redeemed, who the signatures may be. I say signatures, but who was on the stamp to redeem them. The serial number, that's hand numbered. That's either 371 or 351. I can't quite tell. Maybe it was 321. Looking to see if there's another number on there. No. But the date on this one is 1855, and you can see the signatures are genuine. The red overprint of the 4, these were printed on very thin paper, so that does go through there on just about all the notes. You're going to see that. Many of the obsolete currency notes have the overprint that goes through. But this was definitely a cool ad for me. This one is number 6. Number 5. Another cool obsolete note I picked up this year. This is from the Stonington Bank. This particular one happens to be a remainder note. A remainder note is a note that was never circulated, and you know that because there is no date written on there. There are no signatures. There is no serial number. This note was printed but not issued. Now, on the issued notes, there was actually a red overprint over these sections as well. The Stonington Bank from the state of Connecticut, this $10 note, you want to talk about intricate, check out the Roman numeral 10 in the center with the 2 ladies there. Just a really cool feature. Nothing on the back of this note. It is a remainder note, so it's kind of disappointing to see the folds because since it wasn't circulated, it has no excuse for not being in good shape. But the ultimate cool factor is the vignette, which has to do with whaling. Now, it's not something that we think about nowadays, but pre-oil wells, most of our oil was coming from whale oil, using to light lamps and for all kinds of different things. Someone called it the black gold of the sea, which is kind of backwards because we were getting it from the sea long before we knew about black gold. Anyway, you've got that really cool whaling vignette on there. Just you want to talk about a piece of American history? I mean, that's just what was being done on the coast of Connecticut back in the day. So yeah, very cool obsolete note. This one is number 5. Number 4, I picked up, this is a third issue 50-cent spinner fractional currency. It's graded, it says 58 apparent, edge tear at the bottom left, choice about new. And if we look at the bottom left, I'm going to take their word for it. There's an edge tear somewhere around there. Not 100% where. Anyway, what's cool about this? It's a specimen. That's what's cool about this. If we flip it over, you can see there's no printing on the back of this note. It's a one-sided specimen print. One of the cool things that they did with this particular series of fractional is, well, first of all, that is Spinner on the note, and we'll get to him in a second. But when they printed the note, you can see how they have the 50 engraved here. They did another engraving of 50 right here, and this, as well as this, was printed in glue, and then they used bronzing powder. And this one, being a specimen, is still in really good shape. A lot of times this is going to turn green over the years, and you can see that the bronzing powder still holds that bronze color. So that is cool. The other cool thing is this is F.E. Spinner. He was the treasurer of the time, and he helped develop postal currency, him and Abraham Lincoln. So what makes this so cool is that's actually Spinner's signature. Spinner is one of the most ornate signatures out there, and he signed this note. So it's his picture and it's his signature on a specimen. How cool is that? That's just so cool. We're calling that one number 4. Number 3. Here's another 50-cent fractional, very similar, except this one is, was this the Justice one? I think this was called the Justice note. And we are talking about the same time period, same series, I want to say, because everything on it is the same except they got rid of Spinner's signature on here, or they got rid of Spinner's picture on here. This particular one has a red back, so you know it was one of the circulated ones. And if you look at the 50 on the back, they did the same thing with the bronzing powder. They stamped 50 there in glue, and then put the bronzing powder in there to give it the look that it has. This one's known as the red back. But, like I said, this is a circulating issue. This was meant for circulation. But if you look at Spinner's signature, do you see how the ink is bleeding just ever slightly? That's because on this circulating issue, Spinner also signed the note. So it is an actual signed, circulated Spinner note. I shouldn't say it's a Spinner note because it's not. It's the Justice note, actually signed by Spinner. These notes were signed by Spinner, and I don't even know who's on the other side, but Spinner's the big deal. So to actually have the circulated note that he signed is even more cool than the specimen. You expect the specimen to be nice. You expect a signature on the specimen. But to have one of the few notes that was actually signed for circulation, that's pretty cool. That is number 3. Number 2. I got a Giori test note. This was produced in the 1970s by the Giori Printing Company, and they were trying to show what they could do as far as the printing process goes. Now, you can see the lines through the president's faces. That was done because they actually used plates, real plates, to do the print. Now, you'll read on the backs of older notes especially how the printing plates themselves, they're having possession of the printing plates, is also a crime. So to use the printing plates, is technically counterfeiting. So technically, this is a counterfeit bill, even though nobody could ever possibly assume that this would be spendable. It was illegal to own. Now, on this side, they did the back. I should hold it the right way for the back there. There's the back of it there. You can see remnants of a 5. You can see Federal Reserve note is what would have been here. Here's how the 1 would have done it. So they were just demonstrating what their printer can do. But they did the front in this brown, okay? And if you read, it's called the mud brown front and a black back. They graded it choice 63, choice uncirculated 63. The fact that it has the brown ink and that it's two-sided, they call this the black, that is what makes this rare. You'll find a lot of the one-sided ones, but to have a two-sided with the brown, that is rare. The other thing is most of the ones with this front have George Washington in the center. So having Jefferson, you can see they specifically call it the Jefferson Center versus the Washington Center. So now we're talking about a rare printed note in a rare color that is two-sided. Yeah, that's a winner. That's a good note. That one is definitely a keeper for me. That one is number 2. And finally, number 1, I thought this was just such a neat pickup for me. It is a classic note that everybody wants in their condition, but mine has a slight difference. This is my 1899 contemporary counterfeit chief note. Now, to have a chief note is really cool, but to have a counterfeit of the time, someone tried to spend this back then, and it was then stamped counterfeit, and someone got a hold of it. So yeah, the contemporary counterfeit chief, when you look and you try to see all the details, you can see how muddy all of it got, so it's fairly easy to pick up. And I'm wondering if these blue lines here, I don't know if this was a bleached dollar to start with. Probably. It's probably a bleached one. And I don't even want to try to imagine how they did the counterfeiting there. Even when you look at the face, it's just not very clear at all. If you look at the background, there's almost no detail at all. It's just all blobbed together. But that doesn't change the fact that this is a counterfeit note of the time. This is from the 1899 series. It's not a counterfeit. It's not just a counterfeit of an 1899. It is one that someone tried to spend in 1899. And to me, that's priceless. Owning modern counterfeits is illegal, but the contemporary counterfeits, you can own these because no one is going to try to accept this as real money. Anyway, that is the top 10 notes from 2023 that didn't make my other lists, but still deserved a little bit of screen time. If you learned anything new, go ahead and hit that like button. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please subscribe. Love reading your comments. Guys, thanks for watching. See you next time.